Hey, welcome back to Mike's Diabetes World. It's early afternoon here in BC. So good afternoon, I guess I lied. Oh no. What I'd really like to do is to talk to you a bit and go over something. I've mentioned before how things can change and how things modify from one day to the next. Here we have my blood sugar currently is 6.8. Pretty good. I'm still fairly well calibrated. Well, calibrated again before dinner and then before bed. I have 0.550 units of my active insulin. I have went through most of the day being a little bit lower, which okay. Now, yesterday there was something like 15% of highs. Now we've changed that around to 90%. I went down to 73% of time in range. So yesterday was not a good day. However, things have changed around. My time in range is 90%. I'm below. I'm still a little bit higher than I wanted to be. So this today was bad. And I did a video starting control day. And my blood sugars weren't in control. So today I'm going to talk to you about, does it really hurt? All these shots you have to do constantly. Does it hurt? How do we minimize this? Stay tuned. I'll be right back. This channel is provided for informational purposes only. Contact your physician for any diagnostic or treatment plan. Okay. Years ago when I was diagnosed, and we're talking 1977, I was trained on how to give shots using a glass syringe and reusable needles that you had to sharpen and sterilize. I think you boiled it for 20 minutes and it was a pain. It didn't really work that well. And because the first couple of times you utilize them, they were fine, but after that, they really started to cause pain. Then they brought in reusable needles, and those were much better. Now, disposable needles were so much better. They were cleaner. You used one per shot, and it's great. Nowadays that we're on to the recycling programs, there still is an awful lot of medical waste, but I wouldn't go back to boiling the needles and anything, and I still wondered how long did they continue training. So I got a list of things here, and we're going to go through it and some tips. Okay, first, when you're ready to give your injection, we'll get into preparing. You want to gently massage the area. This one allows more blood flow, and it also allows you to take a look and see, where should I give a needle, where shouldn't I? Something years ago all diabetics knew. Any type 1 diabetic would know this fact, and that was that you should rotate your sites, the arms, the legs, the buttocks, the stomach. Keep them rotating so that it doesn't get hard skin buildup. You don't want that hard skin buildup because you're going to have to put more force to push down and get through the tough skin. Now, when I started, I was on 1 shot a day. It really wasn't that bad until I started to get 2 shots a day. And I really had a problem with wanting to inject in the stomach. So my arms and legs got used quite a bit. I never really did my backside. It always seemed like you had to be a contortionist to give yourself the needle there. So keep your sights rotated. Next, make sure you're using a new needle. When you inject with an old needle, you're bringing pathogens back in. You don't know what's happened while it's been out. Has it been exposed? I've heard stories about soaking your used needles in alcohol. Well, the gradient level on the side wears off. So you want a nice sharp needle that will pierce the skin with the least bit of effort, and you can deliver your insulin and carry on. Just let me go over it. Now, use room temperature insulin. I'm on a research trial for a drug that supposedly stops, or hopefully will stop, heart attacks in type 1 diabetics. The medication can really sting. If you take it out of the refrigerator, leave it out for, they say, about 30 minutes, and inject it, it's so much better. And the same is, you want to do that for your insulin. If you inject cold insulin, you're going to get a stinging. And it's just sort of like a real annoying. Okay, if you use alcohol on your site as preparation, allow it to dry and evaporate it. Sometimes the alcohol can seep into where you have given your shot and it can sting. Now, when you're injecting, I'm just going to read it here. You want to make sure you go in quite quick. I myself don't follow that rule. For me, I kind of like it nice and slow. I don't know why. It's just something I've dealt with since I've had it. But once it's in, do your injection of the insulin at a nice, slow, even pace. You don't want to be pushing excess force. Okay, so let's move on. This little device. When you inject your catheter, this needs to be changed every 3 days. When you put it in, you can't reuse this. Don't reuse sites. The worst thing that's going to happen is I find that these sites can be open to more like infections, and getting yourself some polysporin should be in your kit. And if you take your site out and it's a little red and a little sore, or the site was sore before you took it out, just put a little polysporin and watch it for a few days. If there's any red streaks sort of spreading out from it, get it checked out by a doctor. You may need to go on some antibiotics for it. Now, when you're dealing with injecting your sites, there are injectors available. For myself, I use what's called a Mio, which has the injector and you just press the sides and it delivers it right away. And 95% of the time, it works without a flaw. It doesn't hurt. But there's always the chance. Again, like your regular shots, clean the site with alcohol. Make sure that the injection site is dry before you inject. Simple thing, easy to remember. Okay, wrong one. Let's take that look here. Now, with the pump, like I said, you really should change it within 3 days. My amount of insulin I go through is quite high, but if you're on less insulin, don't I could drag it out. I could drag it out longer. It can only open yourself up for more infections. You have to rotate the sites or they will get infected. And like I said earlier, is the pump site injections versus insulin injections. For me, it would always be a pump site that would get infected. I think I had, when I was on the needles over the years, I think I had 1 or maybe 3, 4 injection site issues. The pump, yeah, you have a little bit more. But if you take care of it and treat it, it shouldn't be painful. If your site is at all painful, it's a clue that you need to change your pump sites. And I'm talking, he has a little twinge down there. When you rub, if you just rub it, and I know you wouldn't give it there. I'm just kind of showing. Just kind of a little twinge, return it. Change the site. Now, the last area we're going to take a look at is glucometer testing. If you have to do glucometer testing, this is the number one place to draw the blood. You can draw it on your arm, but you should tell your healthcare worker or anyone treating you that you take it from a different area than the fingers. If you're taking it from your fingers, the best area is just around the base. And I've had it where this finger actually did get infected. So you want to make sure, same as the other things, the pump and doing your injections, use a clean, sharp lancet. It's so much easier to use a lancet device rather than, I've done this myself, sitting there with a lancet device in this hand and just wanting to prick the skin. If you use your lancet in the pads, it's going to be a little bit more painful because that's where all the nerve endings are in your fingers. They're not around the edge. And again, rotate your sites. Years ago, see that little black spot? I was always using this finger. And it's taken a while, but I think eventually that will start to work away. I hope so. It doesn't hurt. But if you do it too often, if you only do one finger all the time, it's going to be becoming very you're going to feel pain. I don't know what the word is. More sensitive to pain. So, does it hurt? Not all the time, but if you don't sort of follow these rules, you're opening it up. Sometimes you're going to do the injection and you're running late, or you have to do it quickly because you're going out to dinner and you go boom, 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 and quick, and that's when it's going to hurt. So try to remember to be patient and take your time. So what have we discussed today? With the insulin injections, make sure that you clean your site with alcohol. Let the alcohol dry. Use clean needles. Give your insulin that is at room temperature. And don't try to go in and get out as quick as possible. Take your time injecting your insulin. With the pump, make sure you use an inserter because it's quick, it's easy. It's also important to remember something I didn't mention before. Is a mistake I kind of made was you had to remember to remove the needle or your pump's not going to work. Just remember that. Okay? Don't reuse your supplies. If your tubing has reached 3 days, exchange it. Get a new one in there. Okay. Giving for glucometer test around the outside. Remember, the pads of your fingers have the nerve endings. And it can make you feel more like doing everyday tasks, like typing on a computer or something. Your pads will begin to hurt. Follow these steps and it's not as bad. You'll learn what speed you want to put it into your body. Like I said earlier, a lot of people say, get it in quick, get it out quick. I hope that helps a bit of you. And you can get a number of sites that will help you with more tips on giving more insulin. And with that, have a super day, and we'll talk again later. Bye now. My email is mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com. mikesdiabetesworld@gmail.com.